And now I'll open it up to the panel. We just have a few minutes. If anybody on the panel wants to comment on each other's presentations, has it brought any thoughts to your mind hearing? Especially maybe I'd like to can maybe hear from either Aruna or Kim what they think about this view from the editor's perspective of how to publish mixed methods.
Yeah. Well, I'll just say I've experienced everything that both of them have talked about. I can concur that it's incredibly hard. There's as Runa said, there's high cost, high risk, and high reward. So I think of all I've probably had, 3 or 4 papers win awards in my lifetime, and all of them were mixed methods. So it does lead to, high reward, but boy, some of them, I mean, that NASCAR paper, I think it was rejected at 6 places before it got accepted. So so I stood strong, Siobhan, I didn't give up, but it was really hard. And one thing I should say is another issue that these guys sort of alluded to, but specifically I've had issue is length. So many journals now have a word count limit. And if you have 2 methods, so you have 2 method sections and 2 finding sections, your paper is going to be longer, even if you really try to be succinct, which you should. So I eventually have had to get pre-approval for my study length and say, can I submit a paper that's this many words because it has 2, and got pre-approval from an editor-in-chief just to submit before it even was reviewed, because I had several times had papers desk rejected because they exceeded the word count limit. So that's just one more thing. So yeah, high risk, high reward. I would say don't make this the only method that you use. Have a portfolio of papers that you're working on, but some questions are really best studied and understood with the combination, especially exploratory stuff like what Aruna does, trying to understand some phenomena that just doesn't make sense. And then, but don't put all your eggs in that basket, because it does take time and it is high risk.
Thank you so much, Kim. I'm wondering, Aruna, if you have just a few comments.
I'm watchful of the time, but I think Kim summarized it perfectly. That I've also had my job market paper, which was my first full cycle paper. I submitted it to ASQ. Jerry Davis was the editor. He first just sent it back to me and said, it's way too long. And I said, where do you want me to cut? Everything seems important to me. And then he guided me to kind of moving some stuff to tables and appendices to get the paper down to 60 pages, which was still long, but that was my first submission. But when I first submitted, it was 80 pages long. But I think Kim's absolutely right that I feel like my experience has been sometimes when you have the right editor, and if you have editors like Siobhan and Mike who really get it and support mixed methods research, it can be a really rewarding experience going through the review process, because they pick the right reviewers, and everyone's kind of really appreciative from the get-go that you've made this attempt to bring in different kinds of methods into one paper. But some other times, especially when the editors are not fully on board, it's a really hard process. But I'll stop there in the interest of time.
Thank you so much.